Everything is good until it's not, and everything works until it doesn't. This is No Singular Solutions. Welcome back to the No Singular Solutions podcast. My name is Joshua Hoyt, and I believe that no matter what you've been through, you can still achieve greatness and help others along the way. This podcast is about self-awareness and self-discovery and how you can be authentically impactful. Don't forget, the best way to support my podcast is to follow on your platform of choice. Download episodes, specifically on Apple. Please rate and review. And you can always submit your questions to nosingular-solutions.com/podcast. Under the podcast tab, there is a feedback on fives. Listener questions that are submitted through the website will be used to create new content and new topics, and every fifth episode that we put out is based on you, the listener, and your questions for me. Today's episode is on goal setting. We're going to cover three things. Why is it important? How I personally set goals. And then we're going to recap, and I'm going to give you a free tool to help you. If you go to my website, nosingular-solutions.com, under the content tab, there will be a free download. That free download will look something like this for those of you who are following on social and or YouTube, maybe even the video portion of Spotify. You'll see my goal planner in there. I'm going to talk through my goal planner and why I believe it's a valuable tool for you, but more specifically, how you can use it. So when we think about mental health topics, we think about goal setting. Why does it matter? It matters because far too often we set goals and we don't achieve them. We have these big lofty expectations for ourselves. We put things out there. We get a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months, maybe even a year into something, and we're not getting the results that we expect, and we stop. And then we try it again, and we stop. We try it again, we stop. We set ourselves up for failure because we don't have clearly defined expectations for ourselves. And it's not that we lack the ability or the ambition, we lack proper planning. And when we lack proper planning, we're unable to execute on our goals. It leaves us discouraged, and then we stop setting them. That's not good for our mental health. So I'm going to go through and talk about goal setting today. Specifically, why I believe it's important is because it gives you something to work towards. Now, the term goals is definitely destination orientated. However, what goal planning is really about is accomplishment and holding ourselves accountable. Whether you want to go on a vacation, you want a new job, you want to achieve some level of investment, whatever it may be, we have to clearly define them. Now, that's something that you can do. When we're going to use the vacation example, and we used the vacation in an earlier episode and talked about how it gets us frustrated because we don't do anything with it, right? We say, someday I'm going to, or I'd like to travel to this place, but we don't clearly define it. So for those of you listening, if you've already either seen my goal planner, you've maybe paused this episode, or you've gone back to the website and you have it on your screen, or you've printed it and it's sitting in front of you, I'm going to walk you through this, okay? You have to have a long-term vision. You have to have a general idea of where it is that you want to go. Now, this needs to make you uncomfortable. So we're going to stay on the vacation or the travel piece for a second. I want to travel to the Bahamas. I want to take my family. I want to go sometime in the next 5 years, whatever it may be. That's fine. But get specific with it. Over the week of Christmas in 2027, I'm going to travel as a family to the Bahamas for 10 days and stay in an all-inclusive resort. I want to fly direct or with as limited with as few connections as possible. I want to do certain activities. Like you need to get specific with it. Then you start to work yourself backwards. Depending on the level of your goal, your long-term vision might be 10 years, could be 20 years. For most goals that you're going to set, they're probably going to fall into a 1, 3, or 5-year stretch, or a 1, 3, 5-year vision. But you keep backing yourself into daily. By working backward from your destination, it allows you to effectively plan and lay out a course of action for you to act on every single day. This is that built-in system of accountability. It gives us little wins. It shows our incremental progress. We've heard the phrase 1% a day. That's great. As long as you continue to add 1% a day, eventually you will make it to your destination. So with vacation, if I want to do it in 2027, that's 3.5 years out from now. I know that I'm probably going to have to book it, at least the resort. I'm going to have to book it a year out, maybe even 18 months, depending on where I'm going in the time of the year, the seasonality, the popularity of the location. I know I'm going to have to plan it a year to 18 months out. I'm going to have to get my airfare at least 3 months out, preferably, but I'm going to start shopping it 6, 9, maybe even 12 months out, depending on the airline. Then I can break down the financial part. If I have to book the resort, it's going to require a deposit. So let's say that trip's going to cost $10,000 and $6,000 of it is in the resort. I might need 50% down to make that deposit on my reservation. Do you see how we're walking through this? Why you have to be specific? You have to be specific about your goal, because once you start to write it down and you work yourself backwards, there's different waypoints and checkpoints throughout the process. But absent clarity, or absent clearly defining what it is that I want to do, we get lost in the gray, or we get lost in the lack of clarity, and it puts us off track very quickly. So staying on my travel example, I have my resort, I have my airfare, and then I have all my incidentals, whether it's event planning or meals, whatever it may be. I start to break those down from the long term, and I pull them closer to me until I get to today. So I have my long-term vision. I have my 1 or 3 year goals. I have a 1-year plan. I have quarterly waypoints that keep me on track to get to that 1 and 3. I have monthly checkpoints. Those are incremental ways to ensure that I stay on track for my quarter. I stay on track for my year, and it keeps me accountable to achieve that long-term goal or that long-term vision. Then you get down into the weekly to-do items, even the daily. So again, staying on the travel example here, is there something I'm going to do every single day that's going to change whether or not I achieve my goal of traveling? No, there's not. But there is in certain days. So if I know that I need to book my travel 18 months out or book my resort 18 months out, it's there. There's a day in my plan that's going to come up where I pay the second half. I take care of the balance, and I know I'm good to go. With my airfare, I'm going to start looking. Maybe I put daily reminders in there so that I get the email notifications or something that shows up, and I'm looking at it because I want this number of seats. I want this type of flight, and I'm just going to keep watching to see what the competition is doing for pricing, and then I can act on it. As long as I bring it from the macro level to the micro level, I know that I can move forward. It holds me accountable, and it keeps me moving towards my destination. Now, I've used my golf scenario before about part of the reason that we get into goal setting. I'm going to back up here. When we plan for our goals, we're not really planning. We say things like, I'm going to, eventually I will, I hope to, I wish I could, and we don't plan it. We theorize about it. We keep it in our head. We rarely do we see people write it down. Highly effective goal achievers, high performers, they have no problem writing things down. And most of them, you will see it is a well-articulated plan. So I'm going to use golf as an example. I'm going to talk about a scenario. There is a lot of talent. There are a lot of people that can play golf and play golf at a very high level. What separates amateurs from professionals is as much about the swing as it is the mental, the preparation side. If you ever watched any type of golf highlight or even a tournament, you watch it over the weekend, they have yardage books. They know the pin placements. They know the slopes. They've spent a lot of time walking the course and planning where the ball is going to end up and how the course is going to affect the ball. They factor in seasonality, conditions, time of day for tee off. But professional golfers play from the green back to the tee box. They don't play from the tee box to the green. You and I, as amateurs, we step up to the tee box and we're like, oh, it's a par 4, 440 yards. I'm just going to pull my driver, and wherever it ends up, I'll figure out what the next shot is from there. And what happens? We suck. We don't play golf very well. Most of us shoot very high scores because we're playing in a reactionary way. We play as if we believe we know what the best tool is, the best piece of equipment, but we play from where we're at to where we want to go. Professional golfers play from where they know they will end up back to where they currently are. That's why if they look at a par 4 that's 440 yards, they're going to say, based on the time of day, the ball speed, the ball spin, the pin location, how much moisture is in the fairway or in the fringe, how much moisture is on the green, it's going to affect my ball this way. So from 440 yards, I know that in these conditions, because I've practiced extensively, I can hit a knockdown sand wedge from 110 yards and I can keep it within a 6-foot circle. So if they know that that number is 110, they're going to say 440, back up 110, that leaves me 330. Does my driver get me to 330? Again, depending on the conditions, it might. If it doesn't, they go through that math in their head. They think about that process, which ultimately leads them back to the tee box. You may find out that a professional steps up on a 440 par 4, they pull out a 5-iron because they know they can go 5-iron to this distance and then sand wedge, or they can go 4-iron and then gap wedge or sand wedge, gap wedge. The point is that they play backwards. They play from the destination, and that's how we need to plan our goals. We need to start at our destination, long-term vision, and back ourselves through our long-term vision, our 1-3-year plan, into our quarterly waypoints, into our monthly checkpoints, into our weekly to-do list, or even our daily to-do list and our daily actions. That planning with clearly defined expectations will set you down the course to be successful. The likelihood of you achieving your goals is significantly higher if you can articulate them, if you can clearly state them, if you can write them down and put them in front of you. Don't just put them into a journal, buried in the nightstand, and look at it like every month and then wonder, wow, I didn't get there. Maybe I'll start again tomorrow. That's not how it works. You have to have effective planning. For those of you that have gone to my website and or my social sites and seen the picture of my goal planner, you have the visual depiction in front of you and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, please do so. Go back and re-listen to this episode. I promise you it will all make sense because you have to put it visually in front of you. Now, you also have to plan for setbacks. Your setbacks are going to happen. It is inevitable. You're going to have roadblocks. You're going to have setbacks. Things are not going to go how you thought they were. If you find yourself without any of that happening, I guarantee you did not stretch far enough. Your goal didn't make you uncomfortable enough. I would recommend that you set goals that make you uncomfortable. So let's say you want to lose weight. I want to lose 30 pounds. Why? What is 30? Is it significant because it gives you something to work towards? Or does 30 represent a certain pant size, a dress size? It gives you the look, the shape, the contour of your physique that you're going after. However you arrive to that number, clearly define it so that you have something to measure it long term. But if you want to lose 30 pounds, you don't know if that's going to take you a year and a half, could take you a year, could take you 6 months. There's some people that try to knock off 30 pounds in 30 days. Overly ambitious, however possible. You have to understand, and it is important to understand what the realistic expectations of a stated goal are. If you don't, you are always going to end up with setbacks. So if I want to lose 30 pounds over the next 12 months, that's 15 every 6 months. That's about 2.5 pounds a month. That breaks me down to about a pound every, let's say, 10 to 13 days, somewhere in there. That's pretty achievable if my body composition is such that I have the 30 pounds to lose. But then I have to get into, well, I'm either just going to not eat my way out of it for a while. I need to do meal planning. I need to have some level of a physical regimen, whether it's daily walking, riding a bike, working out at the gym, sitting in the sauna, something. But you have to clearly state where does you want to go, the time frame by which you want to achieve that goal or reach your destination, and how you plan your specific steps moving backwards into when I wake up in the morning, I turn my alarm off, I put my feet on the floor. How am I going to act today? What specifically am I going to do that keeps me on track towards that daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual, into multi-year vision? You absolutely have to do that. And you're going to have setbacks. Those setbacks happen, again, most times for lack of planning. But then again, life just happens. Good intentions, great planning, you get injured or you lose your job. There's Mother Nature changes your plans, seasonality, there's all sorts of things. It's not a matter of if, it's when. So how do we respond to that? We prepare for it. This is where manifesting comes into place. When I think about my long-term goals, and I know that the setback is going to come, I know the obstacle is going to be there, something is going to happen. Remember, it's not a matter of if, it's when. When this happens, I will fill in the blank. So if you're planning for your vacation or you weight loss, either one of those examples we can use, if you're planning for your vacation and you've got everything in place, you've got your deposit set, you know that your resort is secured, you're going to finish the payments because you've laid out the plan and how you're going to meet those financial obligations. You start looking at flights 6 months out, and all of a sudden they're there and they're the best price possible. But something else came up. The furnace went out, the water heater stopped working, and you don't have the money. Maybe you don't have the credit to put it onto credit. You don't have somebody you can borrow it from, but you don't have the money to seize the opportunity that's in front of you. Unless you have exhausted every possible resource, that's a roadblock. I can't move forward today. Okay. What are we going to do? Are we going to dwell on the fact that we missed the opportunity that we've been tracking for 3 months? Are we going to get back into the daily actions to figure out how I can secure the resources to ensure that I can book my flights? Because what can happen is you can't get to, 14 days out and find out all of a sudden the flights are completely booked. You don't have an option. Now you're talking about amending your travel plan, having to modify your reservations, which comes with its own penalties if you can even do it. And you follow where I'm going here? You keep moving it back, and there's going to be something that happens, but you have to think through every possible angle, or I recommend you think through every possible angle to ensure that you've thought about all the potential outcomes, how they could adversely affect you working towards your goal and ultimately achieving your goal. But what specifically are you going to do when that happens? When you're on a weight loss plan, you're grinding away, you've got great progress, and you hit the plateau. You say, I'm going to lose 30, 40, 50 pounds. I'm 50% of the way in. I've been busting my butt for the last 6 months. And then all of a sudden it stops. You stop losing weight. You try working out harder. You try taking a few days off. You change your meal plan. You keep mixing things up, but you can't break that plateau. It's going to happen. Sometimes you just have to keep grinding through it. There are times where you're going to spend 3, 4, 5 days working where you feel the exact same way. You don't see the weight coming off. You're checking your measurements. Stay at it. Persistence, dedication. It's the grind. You stay at it. If an extended period of time goes, let's say 2 weeks, and you still haven't lost any weight, and you're worried that your window's starting to close, you're not staying on track, pick up the phone, call a nutritionist. Pick up the phone, call a personal coach. Pick up a friend, or pick up the phone and call a friend who has recently or at some point in recent memory gone through a similar situation, and ask questions. Ask for feedback. Pivot and find something that you know will better affect the situation that you're in. Solicit input, get feedback from others. It's going to happen, so plan for it. Have those numbers down. Know who you're going to send the email to. Just do something, because if we sit in that point for too long, we sit in that position where we're stuck, we're inevitably going to get discouraged. We're going to get frustrated, and then we tap out. We quit. And we let all of that hard work, all of that sacrifice, all of the things we did to get to that point, we let them just go. Then we look in the mirror one day and we say, man, that sucked. I did all that work and I got to this point and then I stopped because I couldn't get over that obstacle. I couldn't get through that setback. I couldn't overcome that roadblock that got in front of me. So you have to anticipate it. You have to manifest it. You know what the obstacle is going to be. In most cases, you know what it's going to be. You have an idea what it's going to look like. So talk to yourself as if that's happening today. Work yourself through that scenario and then write that down. Articulate that. I promise you, the more you put down in writing, the more you can visually see, the more effective you're going to be in achieving your goals. You know, every time we go somewhere, I'm not going to say every time. Most times when we travel, we find ourselves using either in our vehicles a built-in GPS, navigation, or for me, I use my phone quite a bit. If I was going to go to Duluth and I just plugged in, I said, Siri, take me to Duluth. Where in Duluth is she going to take me? Is she going to drop me in the center? Is there a pre-programmed destination in Duluth? Like, where exactly am I going to end up? Depending on, because Duluth is a fairly big city, depending on the vagueness of my request and where I actually want to go, I might end up on the wrong side of town. I might end up coming in and having to make extra turns or taking longer, going down roads I don't need to go down. Might not seem like a big deal in the grand scheme of things because it costs me, 10 minutes. But apply that same thing to life. Think of your life, think of your goals as the GPS or the map application on your phone. If I just put, I want to do this, or I want to go here, and it's vague, lacks that clarity, it'll get you in the general ballpark, but you may find yourself having to go a different route, or you may take the long way. The more specific you are, when I give my phone app a very specific address, it maps out based on the least amount of drive time. It typically gives me 3 options, and I see the time of each and I see the route of each, and I make my selection. If I have the time and I want a scenic route, maybe I'll pick the one that's 10 minutes longer. If I'm in a hurry or I'm running behind, I'm going to want the most expeditious route. So I pick that one. And then it tells me what 10 things I have to do. And it guides me down that path. It says, turn right in 150 feet. Okay. So I start following it. What doesn't my phone know? My phone, specifically in the map app, it doesn't know what the weather is today. In some cases, if there's reported issues, it'll update for road flooding or snow conditions. it doesn't always have road construction in there. It's good about congestion because you'll get the different colors that'll go from green to like yellow, orange, and red or pink, whatever colors they use. And it'll tell you roughly where the slowdown is. It'll tell you where there's road construction if somebody has reported it. But periodically through that trip, my app will reroute. So if I have to stop and get gas and I pull off 2 blocks, it reroutes based on where I'm at, knowing where it is that I want to go. Treat your goal planning the same way. Look at it the same way. If I'm vague about the destination, I'm probably going to get close. But depending on what my goal is, I'm going to need specific detail, clearly defined details about the goal to ensure that I am putting all of my actions in the right plane. I'm setting myself up with the right roadmap or the right framework. But once I get started, there are instructions for the first right turn, the next turn. When you use a goal planner, those are your weekly to-dos. Your weekly to-dos are your first turns, your second turns. They're things that are going to keep you on track to your long-term goal. You're going to have congestion. You're going to have construction. You're going to have something that comes up along your route, something that causes you to either slow down, potentially turn around, but in most cases, it's going to cause you to reroute or redirect. That's why you lay out weekly to-dos, monthly checkpoints, quarterly waypoints that meet your long-term plan and your goals. Because I have to do something today. I have to move forward. I have to put effort into the actions that keep me on track, that keep me moving down the path. I'm eventually going to be rerouted. I'm eventually going to be directed in a different way for reason to be determined. But the goal is still out there. The destination is still out there. And I need to continue to work towards that. I'm going to say it really is that simple, but it is really that simple. If you start laying them out, if you start detailing them, if you start writing them down, you're going to find yourself, there's a certain level of accountability that you're going to find with yourself right away. Maybe you didn't stretch far enough. In most cases, you lack the mindset to move forward on the goals in which you want to achieve. But by writing it down, by putting it in front of you, by being detailed with it, by clearly defining it, you can start to move forward. You can achieve these goals. I know you can. Every one of us has it in us. It's not the framework that sets us apart, it's the application. Framework is a piece of it. The planning is a piece of it. But we have to get inside of our own heads, build ourselves up with positivity, build ourselves up with constructive feedback. We have to build ourselves up when we lack personal accountability and we're feeling down and discouraged. We have the setback, we have the roadblock. We have to stay inside of our heads in a positive manner. We have to congratulate ourselves and build ourselves up for the little wins, for making the right turns that have kept us on track. Now, I have some social presence. I do have a fair number of people that follow and watch me, so I can utilize public accountability. I can put something in a Facebook post or an Instagram post. I can say something in public. It ends up in print. There's personal accountability through public reach. So if I put something out there and 6 months later, people are like, hey, how's that thing working out? I'm like, yeah, I kind of screwed that one up or that one didn't work. They're asking me about it. That's accountability. If you want to put it out there publicly, you certainly can. Just prepare yourself for when the setbacks happen. Today, I got the Facebook memory. It popped up from something like 6 years ago that said, dream job. And my dream job for a long time has been to be a leadership consultant, to work with people, to develop others. I wanted to do it on my own, but recently took a position where I found myself in a position to do that for hundreds of people. And throughout my career, I've been positioning myself and working into a spot where I know that ultimately that's what I can do. 6 years ago, did I have on my goal planning that I was going to have? Actually, at the time, I didn't know I was going to be elected months later. I didn't know I was eventually going to end up being, I knew I would end up being a business owner, but I didn't know in what capacity and what it would look like. But I was in the general area. I didn't know I was going to have a podcast. I didn't know all these things were going to happen. I had other plans, but I still had the goal laid out there that here's what I want to do. Here's a time frame by which I want to do it. And I have to start working through and pivoting as I go. You have to expect that. You have to expect that things are not always going to go the way that you think they are or the way that you want to. But you have to continue to adapt in real time. Keep the eye on your long-term vision. Keep working yourself towards it through daily, weekly, monthly action items. Keep yourself on check, or keep yourself in check. Keep yourself on point. I promise you, the more accountable you are to yourself, the more likely you are to achieve your long-term goals. It really is that simple. If there's anything I can do to help you, please reach out. Let me know. Again, there's a free download on my website, nosingularsolutions.com or nosingular-solutions.com. Go to the tab at the top of the page that says content. It's all the way to the right. Click on it. There's a free goal planner download. It's a PDF file. Save it. Use it. If you have questions, send me an email, send me a DM, drop a message into the website. I'm more than happy to help you out in any way that I can. Free tools and resources are great. I find a lot of really good stuff on LinkedIn. I was just talking to a good friend of mine yesterday about this, that there is millions and billions of dollars of free content on YouTube, on LinkedIn. Facebook has a bunch of stuff. There is so much good content out there from highly respected people. You don't have to pay for all of it. If there's any little thing that I can do, I'm more than happy to do it. I'll put free content out there. Like and share. Use it, please. Anything that I can do to help you, at the end of the day, fills me and helps me serve my purpose of helping others in every way I possibly can. I think that pretty much wraps up goal planning for today. I hope the analogies and the relatability through real life examples helps you really think about how to lay out your goals. Even if you're not a golfer, even if you're not planning on traveling, I hope the message today was stated in a way that you can take away specific items with it, that you take away kind of my mindset, my approach, and how I look at things. And if you want additional clarity, please feel free to go back, listen to the episode again. Again, contact me. I'm here to help. Above all, I appreciate you. I believe in you. I believe that you can become the best version of yourself, and I'm here to help. I hope you found this episode to be both insightful and informative. Now go be amazing and help others along the way. Thank you for listening, and God bless. This is No Singular Solutions.